Welcome back from the break. You're watching NewsX and I'm Misafri Jindal. The Trump administration is reportedly considering a $100,000 fee for international graduates seeking to work under the Optional Practical Training or OPT program. For many Indian students, especially those pursuing STEM degrees, OPT is the bridge between university and a full-time US job. It allows graduates to gain up to 3 years of work experience, recover the huge cost of an American education, and often transition to an H-1B visa. But if a $100,000 price tag is attached to that opportunity, it could dramatically alter the economics of studying in America. Families may think twice before investing crores in a US degree, while students could increasingly explore alternatives such as Canada, the UK, Australia, or Germany. For Indian students, this isn't just about a new fee. It could fundamentally change the value proposition of the American dream. Joining us to take this conversation forward is Ambassador Sushil Singhal, former diplomat. Mr. Pathikrit Pain, international affairs expert, joins us on the broadcast. Ms. Malika Pandey, foreign affairs expert, also with us on the broadcast. Last but not the least, Mr. Digambar Islampur, community organizer in the United States, also is with us on the broadcast. Appreciate all of you taking out time speaking to us on NewsX. I'm going to start off this conversation by roping in Ambassador Sushil Singhal into the conversation. And so I want your perspectives. This policy is still under consideration, but if it were to be implemented in the coming weeks or months, how could it perhaps hit the Indian students who are already studying in the United States?
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. And, this is very unfortunate what the President Trump is doing by, different means. Earlier, as you know, he imposed $100,000 for H-1B visa. Now is for the this program, optional training program. He's want to impose again 100,000. I think he loves this figure somehow. But first of all, as you rightly said, it's just a proposal. When it will materialize, nobody knows. But now the students have to really think, for the future, those who want to go study there, because as we all know, the US receives, we have a largest number of the Indian students. The last figure is about 363,000 students are studying. And there is a survey which says that, if this kind of fees is imposed, that the students they said they will not be they will look for the alternative options, and they will no longer consider US as an destination for studies, because it doesn't make any economic sense when you spend about $1.5 crore on these studies, and then on the top of it you pay $100,000 just to gain a practical experience. Of course, it is also important that who will pay ultimately this fees, whether the university, which is unlikely, employer, or the students. So there are many issues, and legally also, I think it's going to be very, very challenging for President Trump to impose. But if it is actually this proposal fructifies, I think the biggest loser will be the US universities, not Indians. It will, because they will have alternative options to go to different other places. Because as I understand, the existing students will not be affected by this policy. So only it is for the future, next lot which will be taking admissions in US universities. So this will be a big loss to USA itself. Because the researchers, as we know that, how the US has developed, it's ultimately dependent on for the talent, it depends on the immigrants. And that's how this country has become great. So what President Trump is planning to do, is trying to do, I think is cutting at the very, very base, which has allowed it to thrive and become numero uno at this moment. So it is going to be very, very challenging for them. But I think we need to worry beyond a point. We need to take into, our students have to take into consideration this proposals. But I don't see the cause for panic at this moment immediately. Thank you.
Absolutely. Mr. Digambar Islampur, I want your perspectives over here, because yes, it's true. The big American dream has been glorified over the years. There are students who really put in their hard work and efforts to get into universities that are, for good reason, difficult to get into. What exactly is the sentiment on the ground?
So I think thanks a lot for having me on the show and echo some of the points raised by previous guests. One thing I would like to rate from my perspective, the student community is already reeling under a lot of pressure. And the pressure is coming from due to this H1B because a lot of graduates seeking for the H1B, there is no clarity in the the companies because they don't want to get in stuck with their core employers being stuck in this H1B issues. And the second concern now, if this materializes, as you know that like this is not yet materialized and it is just internal discussion yet, and it is not official policy yet. And if this comes out, I think then it will be very very tough to for student life, and they will look as definitely alternative because US will not be a good viable option if you are paying 100K upfront. Then I think 90% of the Indian students may not look at is US as an option to come here because then that way they have to spend money upfront. And let's say that even if you spend that 100K, let's assume that you are rich enough, then what are your chances? You will just get the opt at max will give you the 1 year 11 months plus currently I think 24 months, like probably close to 3 years you will get a work permit. After that, what is your chances? Because again you have to go to H1B, that is also complicated process. So a return on investment looking at it will be not viable. And the second thing, I would like to put full picture here. I think most of us looking at this as an Indian picture, as you know, that Indian is the single most biggest demography in terms of international student. And then second thing is to universities. Universities charge at least 2 to 3 times higher fees for the international student. And by default, if you're cutting off that pipeline, international student by adding this fee, then universities will lose their revenue, right? That's a second aspect that we have to keep it. And the big stakeholder here is universities as well. And because of this fee, there are various departments and they'll pay the fees and tuitions to their faculty and members. So they will also take a big blow. And the third biggest blow will happen to the industry. And these industries will hire the students from the campuses. If your pipeline is dried up with these kind of measures from international students are being dried up, and then I think it will take a hit industry as well. So these are all the stakeholders. They will come together. I'm pretty sure that they will seek out an alternative. But I think president and the current administration, they are trying to take all of these measures because these are all non-voting bloc students and they can hit, and there are considerable issues. We have to look at these multiple angles because there are some recent some students happen to misuse their position as a student for participating in the political I would say the protest, and that turned out to be not so pleasant on the campuses. I think if you look at the Ivy League campuses, I think last when the war between Israel and Palestine, that that period, that at that time that there were a lot of students who were protesting and they were turning the campuses violent. That also have some degree of play here, and they don't like the that kind of activity, student being misused. But now coming to this current thing, I would say let's wait it out till it comes out as a proposal. But I think currently student community is already feeling a lot of pressure here in US because of, as I stated, reasons. They are opportunities are being dried out, not because of anything, but purely because you need a visa sponsorship or you might be affected in future administrative decisions. So that is the key area. If I am an employer today, employers are thinking these kind of extra burdens. Am I willing to take that extra burden? Now, the same thing for the universities. Universities also losing revenues, and they need to come out with the strategy. How do they counter that? Then it will increase the domestic student fees, because currently domestic students, if domestic student pay anywhere close to 1,000 or 2,000, and international student pays close to 3,000 to
Right.
6,000, depending on the universities. Then based on that calculation, if that revenue is drying out, where do you get that revenue from? Will the
Okay.
state provide? So
All
these
right.
kind of activities, I would think in short, the students, because it's extreme pressure they are dealing with. A lot of people are committing suicides also sometimes here in US due to this pressure, and it will add further pressure. So, but I think let's not. I would say that this is not a final this is not the ultimate. It didn't materialize yet. White House officially didn't communicate. Administration officially didn't communicate. This is just a proposal, internal consideration. So once it materializes, then I think probably it will take its own course. It will play out
absolutely.
in courts.
I'll just come back to you. I want perspectives from Ms. Malika Pandey over here. Ma'am, do you think students would be encouraged to go to the States to pursue higher education if a $100,000 fee work authorization permit comes into effect?
Good evening, Asaveri. One thing has remained constant in Trump's term this time, which has been to put a price tag to the American dream. Starting from H-1B1 visa we saw, which the court categorized as illegal every time his administration took that sponsorship, took that 100,000 fees, and he is totally obsessed with that number. Like my fellow panelist also said, he's totally obsessed with that number, and every time it was taken to the court categorized it as illegal. And H-1B1 is also a merit-based visa. Now he is talking about these international students which are bringing more than $50 billion annually to the US. So I don't know, how does the Trump administration compare it to a crackdown on illegal immigration? Because these are the students, and the OPT, by the way, is provided in different other countries. So Asaveri, if he puts a fee to this number as well, and right now the students pay only $100 or something. So they might go to the UK, they might go to Canada, they might go to Australia, they might go to other places which provide them a pathway to work. And we're not talking about these global professionals or highly paid jobs that these students get. These students basically get it's a way that America retains the global talent that it has educated. And for a very long time, for decades, it has retained that talent, where I have also seen some of my friends who opted for this OPT program and became startup founders and gave jobs to Americans. So now basically you are telling these children who are also taking huge amount of loans from their from their own homeland, you're telling them come study here, and as your visa, F1 visa gets over, you just go back. So why would they come to the US? Why not some other country? So Asaveri, we are going to see these changes and putting a price tag to the innovators, to the future innovators, to the future global talent that goes to the US to realize their American dreams, and specifically the international student, where we are also going to see that in every 3 of international students, there is 1 Indian student. So we are seeing these huge amount of Indian students also who are going to face the brunt of it. But again, like H-1B1 visa was taken out by the court. I don't think this will also see the daylight. I mean, the court and the Congress is going to categorize it as illegal. But the Trump administration, on how it is striking down the innocent students, how it is targeting its non-voter population, like my fellow panelist also said, Digambar ji. So it's appalling to see, Asaveri.
Right. So the $1 million gold card, the $100,000 H-1B fee. Now the murmurs are a $100,000 work permit fee. Mr. Pathikrit Payan, I want to understand from you, why is the Trump administration launching these back-to-back 6-figure price tags?
So first of all, the American president is, he is accountable to the people of America, not to anybody else. This is a reality, and we have to accept it. There's a midterm election coming, and in that midterm election, he has to show that he is doing 2 things. Number 1, he's trying to onshore investments rather than offshore investment, which most of the American companies have done. And in the onshoring of investments, you want Americans to get jobs and not the Indians or anybody else. That is his macro view, because he believes that his conservative vote bank will vote for him if he tries to project all these things, especially against the backdrop of kind of a fiasco that the Americans have done in the Middle East war. They need to show something. So whether it will stick in the court of law or not, that's another issue. But we need to be a little realistic on 2 issues again. Number 1, see, it is a reality that the American dream actually benefited a lot of people. and America itself also benefited. But the American dream is over-glorified at times and overhyped at times. And we need to understand that this dream is ending. Not that America is declining today itself, but its trajectory is on a declining road. Even for the next few decades, America is still going to be the biggest power in the world. So we need to understand that all the hype and the glory and the guts and the beauty that we see about United States, deep inside there are a lot of structural fragility they have. I don't think that the Trump administration is mad, even though the individual can be a little bit of that particular individual as the president, but the administration is not mad. There are a lot of pressures within the American society, and there is this disdainment that they have that all the jobs generally go to the people who come from outside, and justifiably so, because they're far more talented, they're willing to work harder. But this is a reality in many of the cases, in many of the places. Whether you go to United Kingdom, whether you go to Singapore, I have personally studied in NTU, Nanyang Technological University. It was very clear that Indians are not going to get jobs there. And if the companies actually employ them, so they have to pay an extra amount. And I never looked for a job over there because I know this is the reality. So for the Indian students, let's be realistic. The American dream was not made for you beyond a point. So long as you benefited out of it, great. But if you presume, with all due respect, that for the next 7 generations of your life you're going to stay there, there will be somewhere a pushback, and the pushback is very strong within America. Whether it benefits America or not, that the Americans will decide. If the American companies do not like it, if the American companies believe that it is going to be a loss-making proposition for them, if this policy continues, then they will oppose the Trump administration, and then it will open the doors for us. But that is an issue between the American corporates, between the American people, between the American administration and the judiciary of America. We are peripheral people in that. I mean, we have never said there's an Indian dreams come to America, the Americans come here. I mean, that is what we should aspire for. Anybody who asks me what happens to the students who go there, well, the students who are stuck over there, I would always support them because they went and then they got stuck. But if somebody says, look, I have an American dream and Trump is not helping it, I mean, the American dream was not meant for somebody who was born in Delhi or Bangalore. You are supposed to make something for your own country. You can say that our opportunities are not at that best. I agree. But then, somebody had to do it. Somebody has to do it. So I am a little less emotional, less sympathetic towards this issue that, a lot of Indian students are not going to fulfill their American dream. Neither the government of India has that mandate, nor the government of United States has that mandate. If we are talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat, if we are talking about Make in India, if we are against infiltration, they have the same problem within their own society. I am not saying that Indian students who go there are infiltrators. They are legally going there and they're paying the money. They have the right to be there. But it is the American law which will decide what is legal and illegal beyond the point. If what Trump is doing is not good, he will be voted out. But if you look at the trajectory of the American society today, what is happening deep inside, if we keep our emotions aside for some time, whichever government comes next, even if the Democrats come, they will continue to do this because this is the general sentiment that all the policies of H-1B visa has benefited American companies. It has benefited the American economy, but it has not benefited the American people. At the end of the day, it is the people who vote, and that's what Trump is doing, which any politician anywhere in the world would do. Back to you.
Okay, I do want to understand from you. I do have another question for you. If this policy were to be imposed at a time and it had a bearing on students who are currently studying over there in the United States, would that be correct?
Absolutely not. Because you have been asked to go there and study, midway you make a change, that is absolutely not correct, and that is where everyone has the recourse to go to the judiciary, because it is a reality that the life of a student when he goes abroad from India is not a fairy tale life. I have been a student and I know the kind of effort that I had to put in Singapore, working in the evening as a waiter in a casino to survive. So for students to survive over there when they are already gone there, when a particular amount of commitment has been made, then to tell them to that, do something else, you put in this money, this is like betrayal. This is like betrayal. So that is something that has to be understood. But the presumption that we always have, and that has been ingrained into our society psyche from the school life itself, that the moment you go to America, you can stay there, you can marry there, the next generation will stay there. We need to come out of that, delusion. Someday it would have broken. Someday there would be a pushback, and that pushback is happening. If you go to United States, you want to study, please go. But you presume that it is the mandate and the fundamental right of you to get a job there for the next few generations. That is not going to happen because the jobs, because of AI and many other factors, are shrinking within United States as well. Their people are not getting jobs. And this is not, I am not advocating, I'm not a devil's advocate for Donald Trump. Most of the time I criticize him. But let's understand the psyche of the average American who thinks that who is benefiting out of it. And for us, well, we have other choices, whether it is in India, somewhere else, any country you go, the people of the country will decide whether you will get a job or not. Whether it is in Singapore or whether it's most of the European countries, it is not so. You go, you study, you come back. You do not get a work permit after that. You are not then ensured that you will get a green card, and after that probably a citizenship. That doesn't happen, and we need to come out of the delusion.
Right. Okay. Fair points, Ambassador Singhal. I want your perspectives over here. Taking from what Mr. Pathikrit Pain has said, I want, what I want to essentially ask you is, why is there this obsession that we've created that if we have to pursue higher education, it has to be abroad? There is this notion that is there, which is why we see a lot of students go for their undergraduate and master's degree. Why is it that we somewhere or the other perhaps are lacking to convince the youth of the country that there are opportunities at present in India, or there can be opportunities that can be generated?
Well, I would, take it slightly different manner. First is that, it's nobody's case that, when you go abroad for a study, that you have a right. It's a give and take. That when a student selects a destination for studies, he takes into account various factors. And it's his choice or her choice also, apart from the host country. And because the host country find advantage, that's why these universities and the government even have a program, familiarization program in the country, in India. Most of the countries, they organize that in India. If they are not interested, I mean, it's a fair point that, that whether they want to keep with them or not, but they cannot have a policy that they want the Indians money, but they don't want to give something in return. So, because it's not the one-way traffic that, when the Indians or any student for that matter is coming to India or abroad, going abroad, they are also benefiting, giving the benefit to the society there. Because that money which they are paying, because they are paying the tuition fees, which is 3 to 4 times of the normal fees. So it's not a charity which the country is doing, or a Trump is doing for that matter. And as far as, this craze for the foreign degree is concerned, that is something, which we need to ponder over it. Because what I feel is that, many times the students are not willing to go to the grind in India. When they do the engineering or medicine, they have to really, really compete with the best of the best. When they go abroad, it becomes much easier for them to gain the degree. So the people want to spend money without making the efforts. So it's only the people who can afford, they go there. But people who cannot afford, they have to, fight in the Indian system. And Indian education system, as you know, it has been proven many times that students who are coming out of the IIT or coming out, Indian university, medical schools are equally good, if not better. Because what I've seen in many countries, that there is a demand for Indian doctors and engineers, specifically by, we want Indians to work there. So there's some reason why they want them. So when we're talking Atmanirbhar Bharat, I think we have to separate the issues. And when we are, and also the government of India is talking about, we are signing now agreements with US, New Zealand, we have just done it, UK, we have done it, Oman, we have done, where we are talking of, movement, mode 3, mode 4 movement. There is a reason why we are asking, because we want Indians to have equal opportunities of working, like the people who come to India. So, but that's a separate debate. But the point which I'm making is that Indian education system is equally good, but it demands a lot. People who don't want to get into that grind, they look for easy way out to go abroad and earn a degree. So that is the reality which we have to think about. But The point, I don't accept that point that, they are doing a favor to Indians by accepting Indian student. We are doing, or any student, foreign student for that matter. The universities depend on us, depend on the foreign student for their financing. That is why they are coming to different India and other countries to advertise about themselves that, please join our universities. Thank you.
Malika ji, I'm a little short on time, but I want your perspectives on the same, because yes, it's true. There is this craze about studying abroad. We've spoken about the US at large. Canada is there, Germany, the United Kingdom. Why is that? And why are we not able to convince the youth that you can stay here, create opportunities, become the best at what you do?
Absolutely, Asaveri. It's difficult to convince today's youth to not go abroad because that sort of white man supremacy, that sort of Macaulay's fever is still there. What we see in today's youth as well, they want to study abroad. And what Sir said that because, the seats are limited. There are limited seats in IITs. And it's super, super competitive to get into, be it a medical school, be it an engineering college, be it Delhi University or any good public institution. There is a lot of competition, and to go through that grind, not every student wants to go through that grind. That's why they choose an easier way to go abroad, and that supremacy is still there. But Asaveri, coming back to the thing that it's high time that we realize that the international students are subsidizing America, not the other way around. What I mean to say that these international students are economic assets wherever they go. So not only Indian, they are economic assets. So they can't be treated as that, one day you give them that, this is the training program, you'll have to pay for it, because we also need to mind that there are students who take heavy loans to go abroad. So there are alternatives which have to be created now. And like we have seen over the years, there are a lot of upcoming excellent institution of excellences which are coming up. We are seeing a lot of aims which have been built up. We are seeing a lot of IITs which have been built up. So yes, but that process is also slow to cater to such a huge amount of young population. So it's going to take time, but in the meanwhile, there are a lot of private universities also in India which are equally doing well. So yes, after I think this decision, Asaveri, we are going to see a reverse migration for sure.
Can I make a point?
Right, so I have limited time. 30 seconds, please.
There was a time when India did not have any opportunities. Today, you have more than 200,000 startups. Very recently, Skyroot launched its own, first private sector Vikram rocket. So there are things happening here. People thought that we should not go abroad. And I personally, I went abroad. I am not saying I'm against anybody going abroad, but I think only thing is that consider that as a privilege. Don't consider that as a right, that just because they don't want your favor anymore. Let's put it that way. I mean, let's not presume that we are doing a great favor to the Americans by going to the American universities. If the American universities need us, they'll allow us to go, not otherwise. So there has to be a change in the mindset. I am not against anybody going abroad because I respect them. They work hard, they make themselves. But that psyche has to be changed, that nothing is here, I can only be successful abroad. This is the fundamental problem, because from school onwards, this has been ingrained in the student's mind that the only way you get success is by when you go abroad. That is not today's India anymore. It's the fifth largest economy.
But I have very limited time right now, Mr. Digambar. I just wanted to make a final point, so I'm going to wrap it up very quickly.
A lot of stories. So one of the main reason why students come here is it's a big economy. It is if you look at Fortune 500 companies, most of the companies are headquartered here, and it's good population here, and it is good policies here. That's the reason, one of the reason people go abroad. I would suggest to encourage people to study abroad, and if not, it's a privilege, as somebody mentioned, you explore and you come back, you take experience and you come back. But that's a good opportunity to explore. Let's not put restrict just study in India. That will constrain ourselves. Let's go and explore the world and come back. That's what I would suggest to Indian student.
I'd like to thank all our guests for joining us on the broadcast, sharing their important and valuable perspectives on this big story. On that note, let me put out some breaking information that we're tracking.